Hi there, Plant Girl here. Today I'm going to be taking these little tiny rosemary plants that I sowed on the 11th of January, and I'm going to be potting them up into slightly bigger containers and separating them. There's two here. I sowed these from pelleted seed, and I actually had sowed them in 3 cells. One came up, but I didn't realize this soil isn't great, and it was drying out when I thought it was still damp, so that one died off. The other one, I was able to save these two, and I actually didn't have anything come up in this cell. So I'm going to take them out of here, move them up so they can have better soil and just more room to grow, and I can separate them while they're still small enough that they shouldn't be too tangled up together in this pot. And then I'm going to sow some sage. So I have just some broadleaf sage here. I've been growing this for a couple of years. I really like it. It's nice to have some sage in the yard. It just smells nice, and it's nice to have to be able to just grab and have for cooking, just like the rosemary here. And these are 2 herbs that are better started a little bit earlier on, before your average last frost date. I'm at about 14 weeks before my average last frost date, and that's a good time to get this started. The rosemary obviously was started much earlier, but that's just because these plants take quite a while to grow. You can start the sage later, but starting it this early will just get it a little bit larger in size before it's time to put it out. So the first thing I want to do is get this rosemary out of this tray and into some pots. So I just have these little pots here. They're just nice little round pots. They have a little bamboo catch tray, and I have 2 of them. And they actually come with this little piece of mesh, which is nice because it just covers up the drain hole, which is very handy. So they're all ready to go. Get this out of the way. And then I just have some regular potting mix, and I've added just a little bit of slow release fertilizer. I've just used this, but you could use whatever you like. So this soil is quite dry, so I just want to get it moistened down a little bit before I start using it. I just have my spray bottle here, so I'm just gonna spray the soil down, get it nice and damp, let it absorb some of that moisture. And I actually like to just have a little bit of root booster in my spray bottle, and then when I'm watering my plants and seedlings, they get a little bit of that. They don't need it when they're brand new and just planted necessarily, but as they start to get into the true leaf stage, it's helpful to have just that little bit of extra boost for them, and they'll get that nutrition faster than the slow release fertilizer. So I like to use them in combination like that. So when you're mixing your soil, you're looking to get a consistency where the soil will hold together easily in a ball, break apart easily, and you're not dripping water out of it. Like you can see water dripping out of here right now, but I have lots of dry soil in here yet, so I'm just going to mix it around. And when I can squeeze it and maybe only be able to squeeze 1 or 2 drops out, then it's good. So I'm just going to get the rest of the dry soil that's in here mixed in, and then it'll be good to go. It's almost perfect right now. Oops. So there. Can't get any, well, maybe 1 drop I got out of there. The rest was soil that was falling there. So that's perfect. And I have added just a little bit of perlite to the soil just to help keep good drainage. Both these herbs like good drainage, so we don't want to have them holding the moisture too much. You need to find that perfect balance between moist enough and not too wet. So there, I think that should be about full enough for once I get these rosemary plants moved out of the pot. So now I'm just going to take the rosemary out of this tray here. And I often will just take these little tags, just push them down. A lot of times that'll loosen up the plants along the sides and make them pretty easy to pull out. So there's my little rosemary plants out of the tray. I'm just going to gently pull them apart. And I mean, seedlings are pretty resilient. As long as you don't break the stem, don't bend it, don't squish it, they can handle quite a bit. So just handle them by the leaves and they should be fine. I can smell the rosemary just with this little bit of working with it as I handle the leaves. I love that smell. Pull you up just a little higher. Put this guy in a little more. I'll need to wipe these pots down. I made a mess, but they're all planted up and looking good. So I'll give them a little spritz with the water just to help settle that soil down. And then I'll just set them back under my grow lights on their catch trays to continue growing and getting strong. So these will only, I'm just using them in these pots here until I can get them outside. They'll need to be bumped up again as they continue to grow, but this should do them for several months now, probably until it's time to put them out. And at that point, I'll put them into an outdoor planter. Okay, looking good. So like I said, they'll probably just stay in here until it's time to put them outside. The only time I'd probably bump them up now is if they start to dry out every single day, then that's a sign that their roots are really full in these pots and it's time to move them up. Or if their roots were really growing at the bottoms or something, that might be a sign that it's time to get them moved up out of these pots. But rosemary is not a really fast grower, so I think I'll be good like this for a little while yet. I'm just gonna set them to the side for now because I forgot to grab tags to make tags. So I'll have to make tags and I'll remember to do that if I don't have them under the lights already. So I'm just gonna reuse this container that I already had and it'll be just fine to do that. So I'm just gonna fill those trays back up. And now I could use a smaller container. I plan to continue planting herbs and just keep filling this tray up with herbs as it's time to plant new ones. But like I said, that rosemary was just drying out too quickly and needing better soil. So I thought I'll just take it out and put it in better soil and then start this tray fresh for the next things. So when you're using just regular potting soil, which is what part of this is, sometimes you get kind of big sticks and things for seed starting, so just pull those out. If it was just regular, like a potting a plant or something, that's not a concern, but with seed starting, you want to give the seeds a chance to get out of the soil. So there. So I've got just 3 cells filled again. Wipe my hand off a bit. I'm making a mess today. Okay, so I just grabbed my sage seeds here, and this is broadleaf sage, and they say to plant them about 1/8 of an inch deep. So that's what the seeds look like there. And I'm just going to set 2 seeds on the surface. Of each cell here. And then because these don't want to be very deep and I want them to stay damp until they germinate, and sage seeds can take 14 to 21 days is what the package says to germinate. And I honestly can't remember from years past how long it's taken, but a good trick to kind of help keep your seeds that are at the top of the soil moist but not too wet while they're germinating is to just put a little bit of vermiculite on. So this is fine vermiculite, and that'll just help hold the moisture because the vermiculite will absorb lots of moisture. It will keep it so the seeds aren't too wet, but as the soil below it dries out a little bit, it will release some of that moisture down, and so that will keep the seeds right below it moist. So that's a great trick to use if you're having trouble keeping your seeds moist. You don't need the whole set of soil wet and damp all the time. That can lead to rot and fungus gnats and issues. You just need that very top layer until they're germinated to stay damp. So this is a good way to do that. So I'm just going to a little spray, make sure everything's settled in and that vermiculite is nice and wet. And then I'll grab a humidity dome and put that on top of my tray, and that will also help to keep the humidity up in here until the seeds have germinated. Once they've germinated, if it's still, you know, seems like they they're a little bit tender. If you have something that's a little bit tender and it's really dry in your house, you might want to just open up the vents on your humidity dome for a bit until they get their first set of true leaves. Otherwise, if there's lots of moisture in that collecting on the dome, then just once they've germinated, just take the dome off and let them grow like so they have lots of good air circulation around them. So if you're having trouble with keeping them damp and the plants are, the early seedlings are wilting and getting dried out really a lot, then you could just keep the dome vented. Or if you don't have a vent in the top, just raise it up a bit. But the best thing usually to do once your seeds germinate is just to take the dome right off and let the air at your plants. And actually once they get a couple of true leaves, it's good to have air circulating in the room. It can be before that as well. So I usually have a fan going in this room because, as you can probably see beside me, I have a lot of plants going on my plant stand there, and they like the air circulation. So like I said, 14 to 21 days until the sage is likely to be germinated. So I'll keep you posted when that happens. I need to get some tags in my my sage and in my rosemary pots here so I don't forget what's what, though I don't think you could. With the rosemary smells so good and the sage will too. So I think they'd be easy to identify, but it's just nice to have a tag there just in case. And I'll just set them under my lights. Now, if you just had a nice warm place that wasn't lit, sage doesn't need light to germinate, so you could just set it like on top of your fridge or in your furnace room or somewhere, as long as you're checking on it. And once they've germinated, take them out, put them in some bright light. So hopefully that helps you. Maybe it gives you something that you thought, oh, I'd like to grow that. And let me know in the comments down below if you like to grow your herbs from seed. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye.